Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going lovely. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm here for Papertrey Ink today and we are creating a card. We're using a sweet stamp set. This is a large stamp set. There's two 4x6s in here. You combine them and they create, of course, a 6x8. But there is a coordinating die set that we're going to be using also. But this is called Gingerbread Bakery. Everything that I love is in the stamp set. So I thought we'd create a fun shaker card with this. This is brand new over at the Papertrey Ink shop, and I'll leave a link down below if you guys want to head on over and check it out. The release this month is just wonderful. So let's jump in. Now each one of our cookies in this stamp set are layerable. You have a snowflake, you have a house, gingerbread house, and you have the gingerbread, of course. There's even a rolling pin that's layerable, which is really nice. I'm just going to use the outline for my card today. These two darker pieces, just to make it simple. I love that there is a cake plate or a pedestal along with a dome, and I think it's going to go perfect over our shaker. So let's jump in and do some stamping. Since it is a layered stamp, although we're not using the layer, the layers are nice. You can see here. Let me show you the layers. Look at the gingerbread house. You have 3 different layers. This little dotted piece creates like a crumble, like a cookie look. And then you have the outline color, and then you have the outline base. So if you wanted to stamp this with brown ink, stamp over the top of this with your white ink to create a white icing, and then add the crumbles with the darker brown, I think that'd make a perfect cookie. We're not doing that today. We're going simple. But that option is there, which is pretty fabulous. Now let's take our stamping positioner, and we have some white cardstock. I actually have two pieces of white cardstock. I'm not sure if I need them both, but we will check it out. Now we're going to start with our cake plate or a pedestal, our dome, and then we're also going to take our gingerbread. So let's pick these up with our stamping positioner. I kind of spaced them apart because we're going to do our stamping in different sections, and I don't want my ink pad to go over the other images. So we're going to start with the cake plate. Now I'm going to do 2 different colors with the cake plate. To do that, it's very easy. I'm going to use a pink and a brown, since I'm going to go with a cookie kind of a look. The brown ink that I'm going to be using is dark chocolate, and then for the pink I'm using, it's actually a kind of a lavender. This is called Lavender Moon, but this is more on a pinky side to me. So let's ink this up first with our Lavender Moon, and we're going to stamp this. The ink will eventually dry and spread out, which is really nice. After we have our Lavender Moon, we're going to take our dark chocolate, and for this I need a finger dauber. So I'm going to go into my finger dauber case and grab the dark chocolate, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of ink with the dark chocolate here, and I'm going to go around the edges of my cake plate. This is going to give it a cookie look or a vintage look. I love doing this, especially the solid stamps. It's really nice. Let's go a little bit over the top too. And if we use a finger dauber, you don't have any harsh edges, which makes it really nice. And I love the way this looks. That's our cake plate. After we have our cake plate done, we're going to keep our dark chocolate ink out, and now I'm going to bring in my Classic Kraft. This is perfect for gingerbread. So I'm going to go over. The gingerbread again has 3 layers, but I'm just using the most solid layer here. I'm going to stamp my gingerbread, and it stamps lovely. And then I'm going to go ahead and go over the edges. We're going to crispy up the edges of our gingerbread here with our dark chocolate ink. And then we can stamp it right on top. You can kind of see it, how it kind of comes together. And that creates a fun gingerbread. I'm going to do the gingerbread one more time, so I'm going to scoot this over. I'm going to first clean off my stamp. And so we have 2 quick and easy gingerbreads. Now for the dome, I'm going to go gray. So we're going to bring in a bigger ink pad. This is soft stone. And I'm using my big ink pad with soft stone, going over the cake plate, and I need to stamp this a few times. And I'm using my bigger ink pad because I don't have a mini ink cube of soft stone. So let's stamp this, and there is our glass dome. Now we need to put a cookie inside the dome, so I'm going to take our gingerbread house. And again, I'm not going to use the layers for the gingerbread house. I'm just going to make it quick and easy, and we're going to stamp directly inside the dome. Now I made sure that my gingerbread house was a little bit above the end pieces here, because this is going to be glued behind my cake plate, and I want my house to be just at the edge of the cake plate. So you want this a little bit higher. I'm going to pick up my gingerbread house, and now we're going to color this. Instead of going traditional gingerbread, I want some color in here. So that's where Hawaiian Shores comes in. I'm going to go ahead and ink this up and stamp my gingerbread house inside my glass dome here. But we need to brown up those edges, so I'm going to bring back my finger dauber that has my dark chocolate, and I'm going to go around the edges of my house here. I want a little bit more color on this side. Okay, I love the way this looks. It kind of gives it a glowing look. After we have our gingerbread house done, there are a couple little trees inside of our stamp set. There's two of them actually. We're going to take these. I'm going to take the taller one, and I'm going to add that right next to my house. Okay, I'm going to use the taller tree, and for this one I'm going to use let's go with New Leaf. We'll ink this up and stamp this just so that bottom corner is touching my little house. I'm going to add, just using the ink that's on my dark chocolate, I'm going to add a little bit of brown to that. And so we have our tree next to our little gingerbread house. Smaller tree, that's where our ripe avocado is going to come in. Let's do a darker pine tree. Wonderful. And there is our cookies in our glass dome. Now while we have our stamping positioner out, I'm going to bring in another piece of cardstock. I'm going to lightly tack this inside my MISTI. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive and place this in here. And here we have a banner. We're going to stamp this. We'll stamp our banner. I'm going to first stamp it with my Hawaiian Shores. I went two different colors with this. So we'll add our Hawaiian Shores. I'm going to stamp it a couple times. Okay, and then I'll take that dark chocolate and I'm going to add a little bit of dark chocolate to some of the edges. Not all of them, maybe they'll just the left and the right. And we'll stamp this like so. I love just the two-tone look of it. So you can have that Hawaiian Shores peeking out from behind. I'm going to clean off my stamp and we're going to add our sentiment to that. The sentiment in the stamp set that says cookies, I have to flip this around, but the sentiment in our stamp set that says cookies, pies, cakes, and treats will fit perfectly. I had to flip my banner around so it's the right way up. Okay, and that is good to go. Now I want to add a little bit more color to this. To do that, I'm going to bring in a Copic marker. This is BG11, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color to the inside with my marker. And I'm leaving fading into the middle, so we just have a little bit of that blue color showing. Before we die cut, I think I'm going to add a few little swirls. And I love that there's left and right in here. And so instead of bringing my stamping positioner, I'm just going to use an acrylic block and add some of these. I'm going to use Classic Kraft. And then I'm going to take my finger dauber that has that dark chocolate, and I'm going to add a little bit of the gray to it. And we'll stamp one. And we'll do the same thing with the other one. So we have a left and a right. All my die cutting is done, and I did some extra die cutting. I created a background square with the left layers squares. I used the middle scalloped square. I like the dainty edge of this. I think it goes really well with gingerbread. So this is going to go in our background. I have a piece of acetate, and then I have a snowbank that I created. This was created with one of the dies that was came out last month. This is from the Bring Home the Holidays die set. There's 3 different hillsides in there, and I just die cut out the smallest one with white cardstock. And I love the dotted detail in here. And I have a frame that I created using a square die here. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of stamping on our frame. And we're going to finish off our sentiment. I love the way this looks, and this is going to go on the very bottom. But I do, in our stamp set, there's lots of bakery elements that you can use. There's even a menu board, which is nice. This would be cute with on a chalkboard. So stamping this and embossing with white on black cardstock to create a chalkboard look would be really cute. But I'm going to take Holiday Treats and Made with Love. We're going to add Lavender Moon to our Holiday Treats. And then I'm going to add some brown, that same dark chocolate, to the very bottom, like we've been doing with the gingerbreads. And I'm going to add just a little bit of brown to that Lavender Moon. Just a little bit on that very bottom. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to center it under my window. And we're going to stamp Holiday Treats. If you wanted to use your stamping positioner, you can, but just that little touch of brown really makes it stand out. Okay, now I'm going to finish off. Underneath here, we're going to stamp Made with Love, and I'm going to use my True Black ink for this. And I'm going to center it just under the Holiday Treats. Wonderful. Okay, now we're going to flip this over, and we're going to flip over our window, and we need to create a shaker. So to do that, I'm just going to add, using my tape runner, go around the window edges, and I have a piece of acetate that's just a little bit bigger. We're going to place this right over the window. Before I go any further, I don't want my sequins to fall below my snowbank, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere to my snowbank now. So I'm just going to add a little bit of tape to the sides of my window. I'm going to take my snowbank, make sure the right side is down, and we'll add our snowbank just above our window on the very bottom. And I have a little bit overhanging, so I'm going to use my scissors and just trim that off. Like so. And then we're going to take some foam tape and go around all the edges. I went ahead and removed my release paper. I made sure that I had foam adhesive just below the snowbank that we created. This way the sequins don't fall below. Now I have some sequins. These are Moonshine sequins. I have Fresh Snow, which is like a frosty white, and then I also have Lovely Lady. We're going to go ahead and add some of these on the inside. Now, I don't like too much shake to my shakers. If you like a lot of shake, you can double up on your foam adhesive. But I think one layer is just fine. And I'm going to mix both of these. I like the sparkle behind here. Okay, so we have quite a bit of sequins. Now what we're going to do is take our Love to Layer square. I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to add some adhesive all over the back. I want this perfectly centered in my window. Since we have foam tape at the bottom of our snowbank, I'm going to go ahead and tack this down, making sure it's centered. I think the lacy border around it is just going to add a lot of detail. So now I know my pretty background with the white edge is centered. I'm going to take some white cardstock and adhere this to the back of my shaker. This is slightly smaller. And I want to press down really good. So I'm going to press that Love to Layer square in this and the foam adhesive. And then all we have to do is flip it around. And you can see how pretty that is. And we have a little bit of shake to it, but a lot of them are stationary. And I like that they stay up on top. So that is our shaker. Now I'm going to flip this over. We're going to add some adhesive behind it. We're going to put this on an A2 size card base. And I'm leaving it white. I love the soft look of it. We're going to center it since this panel is slightly smaller than our card base. I love that framed look. Now we get to add our bakery. Let's start by adding our cookies, pies, cakes, and treats banner. This is going to go on the very bottom under our Made with Love. I think that's a good spot for it. I already put foam adhesive behind my cake plate and also my dome. So what we're going to do is, now when I added foam adhesive, I made sure I left a little bit of a lip here. This way I can use a little bit of glue and we can tack down our glass dome to our cake plate. We're just going to flip this around, tack it down, and you can see I already put foam adhesive behind my window. And so this is perfectly positioned on our cake plate. Before we add our cake plate, we have our little decorative elements. Let's add these. And I'm just going to use my tape runner. And I'm going to add one to the left and one to the right. I think that's a good spot for them. And then I'm going to add my cake plate just above the window here. Let's see. One of our gingerbread we're going to directly adhere to our shaker, kind of at an angle. And then the other one we're going to add a foam square to give this a little bit of dimension. Like so. I think that looks really cute. And we still got lots of shaker there. Okay, we are going to finish off with some bells and whistles. I have some little stars here that I'm going to decorate those cookie trees with. I've had these stars forever. Don't even know where they're from. But they are perfect. There's two different sizes and I love that. And take the small ones and we are going to adorn our tree with those. So let's add a little dot of glue. And we'll add our stars to those trees. After we have this done, we're going to add a little bit of glossy accents over our gingerbread to give it just the windows, just to give it a little bit of shine. If you wanted to go over the entire dome, you could do that too, to make it look like glossy. But I didn't want to take away from the shaker in the back. And we'll go over that window on the top there. And then lastly, I have some of my Nuvo crystal drops. This is Simply White. There is in your stamp set, let me show you, that you can stamp the buttons and the eyes here if you want a different color. But I'm going to keep mine white, and I'm just going to add a little dimension to my crystal drops. We'll go over the eyes and the buttons, and then that will finish off my project today for Papertrey Ink. This is called the Gingerbread Bakery, and I just think it is adorable. I love all the elements in here, and I love that you can customize your little sentiments. This would be so cute with real gingerbread cookies. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining me. We will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.